Welcome to your SRPC training experience. Before we ask you to learn a framework or apply a new response, we want you to understand how this training was built and why your district's needs remain at the center of it. SRPC Training is an IACET accredited provider. We use a disciplined instructional design process, begin by listening to the people who do the work, and translate verified research, policy, and local expectations into practical tools. This presentation explains that process and what you can expect from us as a training partner. Schools are not interchangeable, and staff roles are not interchangeable. A bus driver, classroom teacher, coach, counselor, front office professional, administrator, and security employee notice different things and hold different responsibilities. That is why we do not begin by simply inserting a school's logo into a generic course. We begin with the school's reality: what staff experience, what leadership expects, what policies require, what systems already exist, and where inconsistency or uncertainty is creating difficulty. The goal is training that feels recognizable, respectful, and usable on the job. Our first formal step is a training needs analysis, or TNA. Depending on the engagement, that may include staff surveys, leadership interviews, review of policies and existing tools, and questions tailored to specific roles. We want to hear not only what is going wrong, but what is already working and should be protected. Staff input helps us identify realistic barriers, time, workflow, inconsistent expectations, unclear handoffs, or lack of confidence. The TNA does not replace district leadership or policy. It helps us design learning that responds to the actual conditions in which staff work. The TNA is only useful if it changes the design. We analyze what we heard, align it with district priorities and existing systems, write measurable learning objectives, develop instruction and practice, verify local requirements, and evaluate the result. We mark district-specific items as configurable until the district confirms them. That protects staff from being trained on an assumption. It also supports consistency across roles. The framework remains stable while examples, responsibilities, documentation, and handoffs are adjusted to match the work each person is actually authorized to perform. SRPC Training is an IACET accredited provider. That designation is important, but we want to describe it accurately. IACET accreditation evaluates the provider's continuing education and training processes against the ANSI IACET standard. The standard addresses areas such as needs analysis, learning outcomes, instructional planning, assessment, learner records, and evaluation. It does not mean that IACET endorses every statement in a course, nor does accreditation guarantee a particular school outcome. It means our learning process is expected to be systematic, documented, and continuously improved. The SRPC trademark provides a 4-zone restorative flow that offers staff a shared way to recognize what a moment requires. Zone 1 focuses on proactive connection through build, identify, and give. Zone 2 provides a brief private reset. Zone 3 provides structured follow-up through reflect, identify, and plan. Zone 4 is reserved for safety response and handoff under district procedures. The aim is not to make every adult do the same job. The aim is to help every adult use the same decision pathway while staying inside their role, authority, student plans, and district policy. The 4-zone flow is an integration framework. It is designed to organize, not replace, the Student Code of Conduct, PBIS, MTSS, special education supports, safety procedures, and role-specific expectations already in place. The framework adds a common language, clearer thresholds, practical scripts, documentation expectations, and a visible path for handoff. Local policy remains authoritative. If a course example and the district's approved procedure ever appear to differ, staff should follow the district's approved procedure and seek clarification. The lanyard is not a slogan card created in isolation. It is a practical translation tool. Its structure draws from research-supported practices and established school frameworks, while its operational language must be checked against the district's policies, role boundaries, student plans, and emergency procedures. We then reduce that information into a form staff can use during real work. The course teaches the reasoning behind the framework. The lanyard delivers the district's approved version at the point of need. That is why we describe the framework as evidence-informed and the local card as the operational source of truth. It is important to separate 3 layers. Research informs the practices underneath the tool: fairness, predictability, proactive support, private redirection, reflection, and repair. The district defines the operational requirements: safety thresholds, responsible personnel, documentation systems, family communication, and emergency contacts. Staff then apply the approved process by noticing objectively, using the action appropriate to their role, following student plans, documenting what occurred, and handing off when required. SRPC does not replace local authority with a generic training example. A course alone cannot close every implementation gap. That is why we connect the learning to practical tools and follow through. The course builds common understanding. The lanyard supports action in the moment. Scenarios and practice build judgment. Coaching or observation can help teams calibrate how the process is used. Evaluation identifies what should be clarified or improved. This is how training becomes a repeatable operating process rather than a one-time presentation. You should expect 4 things from SRPC training. First, respect for your role. Examples and expectations should match what you are actually responsible and authorized to do. Second, safety and policy first. Restorative or relational responses never override required procedures. Third, evidence with honest limits. We identify the research-supported practices underneath the work, and we only promise results that research has demonstrated. Fourth, continuous improvement. Learner feedback, assessment information, and implementation experience should be used to strengthen future courses and tools. As you begin your role-specific course, remember the relationship among the pieces. The course teaches the shared framework and gives you opportunities to practice. The lanyard provides your district's approved response pathway in a concise form. District policy, student plans, and emergency procedures govern what you do. When you are unsure, do not guess. Pause when safety allows, check the approved card or procedure, and contact the appropriate district lead. Consistency begins with everyone using the same verified source of truth. Thank you for allowing SRPC training to support your professional learning. Our goal is straightforward. Listen before designing, connect training to the realities of your school, ground the work in verified evidence and local requirements, and leave staff with tools they can actually use. We look forward to learning alongside you and supporting a response process that is safe, clear, consistent, and appropriate for every role.